Welcome to the Seating and Selection Show for the 2023 Newsenda Credit Union State Basketball Championships. We will release the brackets for all classes. A lot of teams are out there anxiously awaiting to see who they'll face. I know Valencia is watching. Escalante boys and girls, they're checking this out too. El Dorado, I know you're out there. St. Michael's is in front of the screen watching right now. Cliff is down south waiting to see their first matchup. Kirtland Central's in the house. Navajo Prep checking in. Hobbs is out there. Hello, Hobbs, New Mexico. Melrose is meeting up to watch the show. Lovington, you told me you were watching, so welcome to the show. Now, I know there are a lot of other teams getting together to watch. So let me just say, welcome to anyone and everyone watching today. Make sure all of you stick around at the end of the show because we're going to announce a VIP prize pack winner. If you downloaded the NMAA 24/7 app, you are entered to win. But before we get to the brackets, we always like to remind everyone how the seeding and selection process works. The seeding process is not the NMAA sitting around in a room randomly deciding who should be the 1 seed, the 2 seed, etc., etc. It is not that. It is a process that is all data-driven. The following criteria is used to determine a team's seed. We look at finish in regular season district play, max preps rankings, overall record, wins against district champs regardless of class, member school input, that's the coach's input and their rankings, and any head-to-head matchups. The schools are compared to one another with each of those criteria points, and the seeding is determined like one big math problem. It's all based on the numbers and the data. In the event of a tie among those criteria points, head-to-head will be used to break the tie. If there's no head-to-head competition or the head-to-head competition is tied, then max preps strength of schedule will be used to break the tie. There is no input given by the NMAA staff. Let me repeat that once again. No input by the NMAA staff. It's all data-driven based on those criteria points. Did you beat a district champ? Do you have a better record? Were you ranked higher? All of those things. There is no bias for or against any school or team. Now that you understand how it's done, let's get to it. You clicked on this show to see the brackets, right? Ladies first, and we will start in Class 1A. The first name announced today, the top seed in Girls Class 1A. Any guesses out there? What if I gave you a hint and told you they were in the final each of the last 6 years? Well, then you know I'm talking about Melrose. Melrose is the top seed. Kevin Lackey took over the girls program this year, and he has them rolling. Only one loss on the season, and that was to Kirtland Central. Like I said, Melrose has played in the final every season since 2017, so expectations are high.
I always think expectations are a great thing because that means you have a tradition, and we should want expectations. Whenever you're at a school that doesn't have expectations, I think that's where a problem lies. So I think we relish the expectations. We relish the opportunities. I think they're hungry. They've had we finished second last year. We finished second in volleyball. I think we're tired of red trophies, but they sure don't hand those out. So it's going to be something that's earned, but I know we're motivated by that.
Let's take a look at the first bracket of the day. Melrose will meet up with Cimarron in the opening round. Springer and Logan is your 8-9 matchup. Alamo Navajo earned a 5 seed in the bracket and will host Dora. To'Hajiilee, you are the 4 seed and get to host Jemez Valley. Cliff is the 3 seed against Reserve. Animas is the 6 seed and will face Quemado. Defending state champ Fort Sumner House is a 7 seed and will take on Evangel Christian Oak Grove. Roy Mascaro is tough, and they are the 2 seed. They will meet Magdalena. Now back to Cliff for a moment. The Cliff girls are a 3 seed, and that's a different position than they've been in the last couple seasons.
Yeah, I asked them yesterday what we were doing at this point in time last year, and they all just kind of looked at each other and weren't sure. And I said, we were praying we didn't go to Melrose, and we ended up going to Roy, which wasn't a good situation either. But now that's not us. Now other teams are in that position, hoping they don't go to Cliff or Melrose or Roy. And I still don't know if the girls completely understand it. I think it's definitely in the back of their mind, but it's just hard. And like I said, until they experience it, which when I grew up, we were always there. It was a bad deal when you didn't make it to state and you weren't one of the top seeds. And so just getting that tradition back has been fun.
Moving on to Class 2A, and the second top seed of the show goes to Escalante. Escalante has 6 seniors on this squad, led by Cipriani Garcia, Brycelyn Martinez, and Emma Maestas. This team is aggressive defensively. Escalante reached the state final last year, but came up short on a last-second shot, 48-47.
At the beginning of the season, you could tell it was bothering them a little bit, but they have turned that into some fuel for themselves. They want to get back. They want to redeem themselves. And it's a big motivator for them. But what I've noticed throughout the season is they don't talk about it anymore. They're really focusing at the task at hand, and that's the next game.
Let's look at the bracket. Escalante will get Lordsburg. Santa Rosa girls and boys are at the school watching the show. Santa Rosa is the 8 and defending state champ Clayton the 9. I'll explain the seeding in just a moment. Tatum is the 5 and will take on Pecos. Capitan is 4 against ATC. Laguna Acoma is the 3 and will meet Manal. Dulce is the 6 and gets Penasco. Texaco is 7 and will host Mescalero Apache. Mesa Vista is the 2 seed going up against Eunice. Now, in this bracket, there was a 3-way tie between Texaco, Tatum, and Dulce. Tatum came out of that tiebreaker on top, so then Dulce beat Texaco on criteria points, so Texaco ended up with the 7. And because of how they finished in district, Santa Rosa and Clayton couldn't get in until Texaco got in, and that is how we got here. In Class 3A, Robertson is the defending state champ. They played in the final each of the last 2 years, and they enter this season as the number 1 seed. The Robertson Cardinals only have 1 loss on their resume, and that was to Centennial earlier this season. Since then, they've won 21 in a row, including a 1-point district tournament win against Santa Fe Indian School. Robertson, congrats on the top seed. Now, let's take a look at the bracket. Robertson will face Hot Springs in the opening round. Through is the 8 and will take on West Las Vegas. Tucumcari will host Cuba in the opening round. Tohatchee is a 4 seed and will face Socorro. Santa Fe Indian School will take on Ruidoso. Sandia Prep is a 6 against Crown Point. St. Michael's is the 7 seed and gets Zuni. Navajo Prep is a 2 seed and will meet Dexter on Friday. Navajo Prep won it all in 2020 and 2021. Santa Fe Indian School lost in the final last season to Robertson. Head coach Terry Morrison has a message for her team, and it's a good one. Have fun.
Pressure's hard right now. And so you've worked this hard all season, just have fun. Don't turn the ball over or out rebound the opponents. That's what the easy things, but more than anything is enjoy the moment. I think sometimes we get caught up in the wrong things, and the good things are, I love New Mexico basketball, high school basketball. It's been so nice to have it's been invigorating. I love the fan base. I love our Pueblo communities who they probably know more basketball than I ever thought about.
4A is up next. We've seen some battles in the 4 corners between Kirtland Central and Gallup this year. Those 2 teams are solid. Who's number 1 heading into the tournament? Kirtland Central. The Lady Broncos beat the Bengals in criteria points. Kirtland Central is the defending state champ. The only teams to beat the Lady Broncos this year are Gallup and Farmington. Ariana Lansing leads them in scoring. Head coach Devin Manning knows what it's like to win as a player and a head coach, and he tries to keep it simple in the postseason.
We talk about being 1% better than the day before. Now, what that may be, I don't know, just in conditioning, that may be in being a better teammate. Doesn't have to necessarily do anything with putting the ball in the hoop. But we also know starting next week, it's a one and done deal. And we've always tried to preach each game. We got to try to approach it like it's a state championship ball game. As we said, every game's a state championship ball game for us. So when we do get to this postseason, we've prepared ourselves mentally for these one and done games.
Let's look at the bracket. Kirtland Central will match up with Deming, the 16 seed. Bloomfield is 8, Highland 9. Artesia is your 5 seed and will meet Moriarty. Hope Christian is the 4 and gets Lovington in the opening round. St. Pius is your 3 and will take on Portales. Los Alamos is the 6 and will host Valley. Silver is the 7 and gets to host Valencia. Gallup is the 2 seed and gets Albuquerque Academy. Now, a little bit of explaining on this bracket. Silver is the 7 seed based on those criteria points. When compared against Bloomfield, the Bobcats had the advantage in max preps and coaches' input, while Silver had district finish, overall record, and wins against district champs. So, even though silver is 15th in max preps and 12 in coaches' input, they earned a 7 seed based on those criteria points. Albuquerque Academy and Deming won their district tournaments, so they earned a spot in the field. Academy and Deming are in, and Goddard was the team on the outside looking in and not in the bracket. The last girls' bracket to reveal is Class 5A, and the top honor in this bracket goes to a program that has been a fixture in the finals, the Hobbs Eagles. Hobbs is your number one. Hobbs has played without Wisdom Anthony for pretty much the entire season. She suffered another knee injury, but they are still back on top. The Lady Eagles have been to the final each of the last 5 years, and this year they're going to the postseason starting 5 sophomores.
I really think they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, like they want to prove it to everybody that they're capable of doing that. And, I always have a chip on my shoulder wanting to prove that. So, we all of us, together, I think we can make a run at it.
There were some ties in seeding this bracket. I'll get to all of it in just a moment. But first, let's run down the numbers. Hobbs will host Rio Rancho on Friday. Sandia earned an 8 and will take on Albuquerque High. La Cueva's your 5 and will meet Mayfield. Carlsbad, the 4, gets Cleveland. Two-time defending state champ Volcano Vista is the 3 and will take on El Dorado and scoring machine Bella Hines. Centennial's the 6 going up against Oregon Mountain. Las Cruces is 7 and will take on Clovis. Farmington is the 2 seed and will host West Mesa. As I mentioned, Volcano Vista is going for 3 in a row. There's pressure going for a three-peat.
There's always pressure. It seems like we have a target on our back all the time, but we've been through it long enough to understand what it takes and how to overcome that.
Back to the bracket. There was a 4-way tie between Carlsbad, Centennial, Albuquerque High, and La Cueva. Now, Carlsbad came out of that 4-way tie, so then you had a 3-way tie, and La Cueva won that 3-way tie break. Out of that 4-way tie, Centennial and Albuquerque High were left, and Centennial won on criteria comparison. Then we had a 3-way tie with Albuquerque High, Las Cruces, and Sandia. Las Cruces shook out of that group, and between Sandia and Albuquerque High, Sandia beat them. So they're that 8-9 matchup, and we'll settle it on the floor. Halfway home, 5 brackets in the books, 5 more to go. Boys Class 1A is up next. The Class 1A top honor goes to a program that has dominated most of their competition the last couple of years, the Magdalena Steers. Magdalena is undefeated this season. In fact, Magdalena has won 104 of the last 106 games, and they come into the postseason as a 2-time defending state champ. They've been to the final each of the last 3 seasons.
They do feel that, I don't think you'd call it pressure, but expectations is probably a good word. It wasn't that long ago that we weren't as competitive, and so a lot of these kids have siblings that knew what it took to get to that point, and so a lot of them are still around and in those kids' ear, about, hey, you guys, you need to keep putting in the work and keep doing the things that we did to get to this point, and so it kind of perpetuates itself, as far as that expectation.
Let's take a look at the bracket. Magdalena will meet Tohajali on Saturday. Logan and Legacy Academy is your 8-9 matchup. Cliff is your 5 seed and will host Evangel Christian Oak Grove. Maxwell is the 4 seed and will take on Clovis Christian. Melrose is the 3 and will face Mesilla Valley Christian. Melrose won 3 in a row in 2018, 19, and 20. Dora is the 6 seed against Alamo Navajo. Cimarron the 7 and Des Moines the 10. Fort Sumner House is the 2 seed and will take on Pine Hill. Fort Sumner House is 25-2 on the season with their only losses to Los Lunas and Magdalena. Next up is Boys Class 2A. The number 1 seed goes to a team that's played in the final in 5 of the last 6 years. I think you know I'm talking about the Pecos Panthers. Head coach Arthur Gonzalez has the Panthers playing well. Their only losses are to 4A and 5A teams. Taos snapped a 56-game home win streak that Pecos had going, so they are tough at home. Pecos won 4 straight state titles from 2017 to 2020 and played in the 2A final last year. Let's see who they'll face. Pecos will get McCurdy in the opening round. Eunice was waiting to see who they would get. The Eunice Cardinals are an 8 seed and they will take on Tularosa. Santa Rosa is the 5 and will go up against Rehoboth. Defending state champ Manal comes into this postseason as a 4 and will host Lordsburg on Saturday. Texco's the 3 seed and gets Dulce. Escalante is the 6 seed and will host Mesa Vista in the opening round. Jal is the 7 seed against Clayton. ATC, making their first state appearance ever, gets the 2 seed and will take on Tatum. So congrats to them. Manal won it all last year as a 5 seed. They have 7 players from last year's group, but the topic of defending state champion doesn't come up in conversation.
I have not mentioned it one bit. I am big on, and it's no disrespect to last year's team. If I was fortunate to be coaching that team, it would be the same thing. It's about what we're doing right now. If I ask them, I'm sure they would say, yeah, coach, we think about it. Yeah, we think if we win it, we're 2 in a row or something like that. But, and I honestly, JP, I haven't even thought about it until you asked me now. We don't talk about it. It's what we're doing in our gym each day and the group we have right now.
In Class 3A, there are some very competitive teams, but the number 1 seed this year goes to the St. Michael's Horsemen. St. Michael's has won their last 18 games. They can go 10 deep with senior leaders Adam Montoya, Josh Sanchez, and Marcos C. DeBaca. Most of their games are low scoring.
Well, we get it done on the defensive end. Our defense makes our offense. We've probably hold teams to about 40, 45 points a game. If they score over 45 points, 50 points a game, it's going to be a nail biter. But right now it's on the defensive end where we get our offense.
Now to the bracket. St. Michael's will host Tucumcari. Tohatchee is the 8 and Socorro the 9. Crown Point is your 5 and they will face West Las Vegas. Sandia Prep earned the 4 seed. The Sun Devils reached the final in 2020 and 2021. They get Newcomb. Defending state champ Robertson is the 3 against Santa Fe Prep. Bosque is the 6 and will host Ruidoso. Santa Fe Indian School the 7 and will host Hot Springs. Navajo Prep is the 2 seed going up against Cobre. Navajo Prep has a 3-headed monster of Jude Thomas, Orion King, and Xavier Nez. And none of them are seniors. Head coach Matt Melvin is in his 4th year. They are tough defensively, but also kind of a new kid on the block with such a high seed and ranking.
At the end of the day, that number next to the name, I have no control over. We have no control over. But it is talked about. It is looked at. So I think the teams, that are there every year and go through that, my hat's off to them because we've had to learn to kind of adapt and get used to kind of being in that talk or that spotlight. So it is different.
On to Class 4A. The number 1 seed in this bracket goes to the Albuquerque Academy Chargers. Academy has played some really good ball this year, racking up a 23-3 record. This program's won 9 state titles, but none since 1994. To the bracket, there's a lot to get to, so hold on to your calculator and let me run down the teams first. The Chargers get Goddard in the opening round. Deming is your 8, and Del Norte with scoring machine Shane Dumas Sanchez, the 9. The Knights have been to the final each of the last 2 years. Gallup is the 5, going up against Valley. Artesia the 4, and will host Valencia on Saturday. St. Pius is the 3, and we'll see Silver in their opener. Hope Christian is the 6, going up against Kirtland Central. And by the way, another state title for Hope would tie them with Hobbs for most state titles in boys basketball. Taos is the 7 and gets Portales. Highland is the 2 seed going up against Pojoaque. The Hornets are the defending state champs, but this team is much different from last year's squad.
It's much different. I only have 4 players out of the 14. 4 players were on that team last season, so it's a much different team. But they saw in practice, and then the guys that were on the team have provided great leadership for us. Alexis and Raul, Brandon, Eliab have provided great leadership for us to show the guys that have come up from the JV kind of the way our culture here at Highland.
Back to the bracket. When seeding, there was a 4-way tie between Taos, Portales, Deming, and Del Norte. Taos won that tie and got the 7 seed. Now there's a 3-way tie between Del Norte, Deming, and Portales. Deming won the 3-way tie, so then between Del Norte and Portales, Del Norte won, and Portales is the 10. Now, Del Norte and Valley tied in district, but Del Norte had criteria over Valley, so Valley wasn't even looked at until Del Norte got in. Next, there was a 5-way tie in the criteria comparison between Kirtland Central, Pojoaque, Silver, Valley, and Valencia. Kirtland Central came out of the 5-way tie. Now, with a 4-way tie, Valley shook out of that group. So, with Kirtland and Valley now in the bracket, there were 3 teams left, Pojoaque, Silver, and Valencia. Both beat Pojoaque. Valencia's over Silver, and Silver's over Pojoaque, and that is how we got here. Last but not least, Class 5A. Volcano Vista is the defending state champ. Their 47-game win streak came to an end earlier this season, but the Hawks did enough to get that number 1 seed. Volcano Vista starts the tournament with a 1. They have a strong senior class led by Anthony Gonzalez. Hawks head coach Greg Brown says he likes having the top seed. He feels like they earned it.
We understand that we're vulnerable, we're beatable, and that motivates us. So that number is a number. At the end of the day, no one's really going to care about it. As long as, we're playing our best.
Let's take a look at the last bracket, and there will be some explaining. Just stay with me here. Volcano Vista will host Capital. Rio Rancho is the 8, Atrisco the 9. District rivals, but that's just the way the seeding comes out. Oregon Mountain earned a 5 and will host Hobbs. West Mesa is your 4 and will take on Santa Fe on Saturday. Los Lunas is the 3 against Las Cruces. Carlsbad is the 6 and will host La Cueva. Cleveland is the 7 and will face El Dorado. Sandia, the 2 seed, and gets Rio Grande. Now first, I want to show you the comparison between Oregon Mountain and Carlsbad. District finish was the same. Oregon Mountain won the criteria of overall record, max preps ranking, and coaches' input. Carlsbad had more wins against the district champ and won head-to-head. But head-to-head is only one of those criteria points. So by a 3-2 score, Oregon Mountain would be seeded higher. Now, some people might question Cleveland's 7 seed. When Cleveland is compared to everyone else, the Storm lost on criteria points. For example, Sandia beat Cleveland in criteria points 6-0, Los Lunas 4-1 over Cleveland, West Mesa was 4-1 over Cleveland, Oregon Mountain 3-2 over Cleveland, Carlsbad 3-2 over Cleveland. So Cleveland is your 7 seed, and Rio Rancho and Atrisco Heritage couldn't get in until Cleveland got in. That's the way this seeding process works. It's all based on the numbers and the criteria points voted on by the member schools. There we have it. All the brackets and matchups announced. Don't forget, you can watch the state championship games on the NFHS network. So, go get a subscription and log on so you can watch the championship matchups. Since we have a large audience watching this show, I also wanted to take some time to remind everyone, players, coaches, and fans, let's compete with class. Respect your opponent. Compete with integrity and be responsible. Let's bench bad behavior and make this one of the best state basketball championships ever. Before we wrap things up, we have one more final item of business. It's time to give away a state basketball VIP prize tag. All you had to do to enter was to download the NMAA 24/7 app. One lucky person is going to win 2 passes to the Nusenda Credit Union State Basketball Championships, 2 Lobo level tickets, those seats in the first 5 rows from the pit floor, a $500 gift card to Dick's Sporting Goods, a $100 gift card provided by Dion's, and an NMAA edition Wilson Evolution leather basketball. So, it's time to announce a winner, and that lucky person is Elias Bernardino. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Congratulations on winning the VIP prize tag. All of this is yours just for downloading the NMAA 24/7 app. Congratulations, and we will see you at the pit. That's going to do it for the 2023 Nusenda Credit Union State Basketball Championship Seeding and Selection Show. We want to say thanks to New Mexico Gas Company Energy Efficiency Program for being part of our brackets this season. Good luck to all the teams involved, and remember to compete with class.